Hello, it's been a long time. Do you still remember who I am? It's okay if you don't. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Luweepoo, but I do prefer to be called Lou. The name is a long story. I am a theme park enthusiast, and I love talking about theme parks, and it's hard to find people who will listen. So I just speak to a camera now. And weirdly, people do watch, like yourself. So thank you for being here. It makes me feel far less lonely, makes me feel excited about my hobby. But I do recognise I haven't been here for a little while. There's a lot going on in my life at the moment. And sometimes the last thing you want to do is sit in front of a camera. But here I am, because this one's an exciting video. And just before I get started about this exciting topic that I've not seen many people talk about really, this is your reminder that I sell Luweepoo pins, theme park pins, and the stickers are potentially going to go out of stock very soon, so have a look. Today we're going to be talking about the Vice President of Alton Towers, which feels like a little bit of a spoiler because of the way I was going to order this video, but yeah, he's the Vice President of Alton Towers. You probably know because of the thumbnail I'll have used. Howard Ebison. How would you be able to... So funny. How would you be able to spot Howard in Alton Towers? Well, let me tell you, he was there at Alton Towers opening day, stood with his little litter picker, because he's a man of the people. Nothing's too low for Howard. At the entrance of Alton Towers, by the turnstiles, and he was in a really fabulous, blazer jacket. I think it was of a field. Sorry, Howard, I didn't look at it too closely, but I thought it was absolutely fabulous. I love your fashion. So he is quite obvious to spot at Alton Towers, but he hasn't always been there. Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Howard Ebison. And if you're a fellow theme park enthusiast, you know that Merlin Entertainments, which is the broader group who own Alton Towers, have been having a little... I don't know, there's been a lot of complaints towards them recently. Things like the food, prices, ride availability, people believing that the park isn't quite what it used to be in many of these theme parks owned by Merlin. Which is why it's always very interesting when we get a new member of staff who's quite high up, who has the authority to make decisions that actually do affect this stuff. Or at least I find this interesting. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about Howard Ebison. Who is he? Where did he come from? And actually, spoiler, why I think we should be really, really excited that he has joined Alton Towers as a vice president. If it hadn't been for Howard Ebison, Merlin would gone a long time ago. Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Howard Ebison. Now, I don't know the guy personally, barely spoken to him before. This is all just research I've done on the internet, so I'm sure that this isn't going to be a full character profile on who he really is. If you Google me, that certainly won't be representative of who I am. So add your little salt sprinkles on this, because that's where my information's coming from. Howard Ebison. This is such a great name, isn't it? Okay, strap in enthusiasts, this is going to be a positive video. No moaning from me, although I know that gets views. No moaning about Merlin from me. Howard Ebison was born in Surrey. He studied mathematics and business studies at university. Presumably not once he was born, probably waited a little bit of time. He actually went to Warwick Uni. Such a lovely area, isn't it? And I have a theory, which is based on absolutely nothing other than this, that he saw Warwick Castle and thought, do you know what? I want to be in some distant way associated with that. Yeah, no, I've made that up. Away from business, Howard is actually an award-winning musician and dancer. And seeing his fashion, it does make me wonder if he was a bit of a theatre kid. So maybe he is good at flamenco. Okay, I'm going to say it now. If you're wondering why I said flamingo, I have to force in some words that people in the Discord selected for me to say in this video, just as a bit of fun. Wonderlicious. I can't see me naturally fitting that into a sentence. Since he's got a history of doing dance and music, this really piqued my interest, because I was thinking if you don't know, recently Merlin scrapped a lot of... scrapped a bit harsh. Merlin changed their plans on how many entertainers and dancers and stuff that they would have around the park. Although we have since seen them outsourcing dancers and things. But yeah, there was sort of a lot of upset about the way that they treated people, like the entertainers for Alton Towers, which I believe do make up quite a big part of the magic.
Do you think we're allowed to touch it?
Yeah, I want it.
Excuse me, we say hi.
Good morning. Hello.
I'm going to name my child after you. I'm not pregnant. This isn't an announcement. Alton Towers. Thank you.
Thanks, Alton Bear.
Were you in Nemesis Underground?
Subterra?
Yes.
Yes.
I recognise you.
Last season and the season before, yeah.
Compound was
Celebrities. Yes. Yeah, you're on in front of Compound.
Yeah.
Seeing that Howard Ebison does seem to value like the arts, maybe that's a good sign that it might come back. Or he can just do it himself. That'll be really good. Now, before appearing on television, yes, television, Howard worked for Mitchells and Butlers, which from my research, they're sort of like an upmarket pub / restaurant that were all around London. So actually having looked at Mitchells and Butlers a little bit closer, there's a lot of familiar brands that come under that name, such as All Bar One, Arvisters, Toby Carvery, Miller and Carter, and many, many more. He managed 10 of those, so well done, that's pretty impressive. And that was at the age of 24. If I have a think about what I was doing at 24, it's this right now. I mean, I'm filming YouTube videos about theme parks. So well done, Howard. That's really good. Well done. I needed to drink something viscous. So he's not unfamiliar with overseeing a business with tight margins and big teams. Good news. But Howard has actually joked in the past that he was dismissed from working at a fish and chip shop, which is so cute. But that's his reminder to us that career paths aren't linear, apparently. So that is reassuring. Thank you, Howard. Hey, wait! Do you remember me talking about Luweepoo pins? Make sure you have a look at the website. We've got back row, please, if you like sitting on the back row. We've got I hate trim brakes. These are super rare theme park pins. Not many people have these, except some of the coolest YouTubers, including Coaster Tog, James Smiles, Coaster Toaster. Plenty of people you'll heard of have these pins. So the real question is, why don't you? Now, Howard actually gained a bit of national attention, actually, in 2009. And you know what? It's freaking me out that I bet a lot of people who are watching this weren't even born then. Ooh. Where he appeared on the BBC TV show The Apprentice. Wow! Which was series 5. If you've not seen it, you really need to catch up. This was a long time ago. But he ended up finishing 6th place, which means he was 1 away from going to the final. And like, in terms of being on The Apprentice, that's really good. So well done, Howard. And I think his personality seemed to shine through a lot of the episodes.
Me. Second prize don't exist.
From across the country, Britain's brightest business prospects.
That's what business is.
Pressure. Before deciding which two to take to the show.
What's yours called, Howard?
Guinevere.
Guinevere.
Push this bit forward, yeah?
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
It's happy as Larry, isn't he?
Yeah. Obviously, it's all about playing on the guilt factor of, God forbid, I don't buy one of these and then my 6-month-old falls over and bangs their head.
On my newly laid marble floor.
Yeah.
Obviously, The Apprentice is very heavily edited, but from what I can see of him on here, he seems to have like a genuinely really nice character, but is also very, very switched on, has a good sense of humour, and is a real team player, actually. So I do like Howard, based on the tiny bit of information we can learn from him being on The Apprentice. Looks like Howard actually a long time came up with a solution for the soggy chips at Burger Kitchen.
Who likes chips?
Let's start with who likes chips.
I love chips.
We all know chips are the nation's favourite. So your deep fat fryer at home. Oh, well, here we go. Straight open.
Show us the chips. Have a look at some of the wonderful
I tell you what, Ray,
recipes.
before we get onto that, let's get these chips out because this is
let's
nation's
do that.
favourite.
Get them to taste. Taste the chips. They look
delicious.
Taste them.
Let's have a taste. Let's see how they are. Wonderful.
Nice.
I did mention that Howard likes a jazzy jacket, but maybe even this is too far for him.
And it's in bronze too.
Beautiful. Lorraine, you put it off really well. How much do they sell for?
This is £149.99. Real leather.
Apparently Howard told The Guardian, yep, this is where my sources are, I know, that he's a credible businessman who wants to go far. Look, I've not got a lot to go on, so I'm going to start analysing word for word what he says, as if this was scripture. Credible businessman, yeah, I can see that. Howard, you seem to be doing great. You're very ambitious, doing well. When you say you want to go far, though, do you mean you want the businesses that you're working on to do great, or do you just want to work your way up in the ladder? The reason I ask, he's not watching this. The reason I ask is because recently we did have a Vice President Bianca Samet.
When I first visited Alton Towers Resort with my family last year, I saw what you see.
That is good. Who I know a lot of people weren't very keen on, but I think she was all right. Vice President of Alton Towers, by the way, sorry, not just of the United States. She didn't last very long. It was only a couple of years, really. I still remember when she was knighted, or whatever they do. And in that time, a lot of things have gone downhill at Alton Towers. Is it Bianca's fault? We don't know. But what the point I'm getting at is, I hope Howard's going to be here for a bit longer than she was, because I feel like if you've got a long-term vision for a park, you can't just overnight transform it anyway. You can't just suddenly build an RMC in the valley, as much as I would really like that.
A big green truck is made by Mac.
And then the park's suddenly amazing again. It's a very long process to make transformations that are noticeable. So if you have got big plans, Howard, I would really like to see you stay. Please don't go. Please don't go. Howard actually said that during his time on The Apprentice, he couldn't even go to a supermarket in his tracksuit without being recognised, which reminds me of Cheryl Cole.
Actually, I can't nip to the garage in my pyjamas anymore for a pint of milk, even if I want to.
And I think that in itself really speaks to the standout character he was. I've seen people from The Apprentice in real life and been like, is that John Morley? I recognise him from somewhere, but that's it. I actually have for those who know me, remind me, I've got an interesting experience with an apprentice candidate. Actually, I've got many. These people keep cropping up in my life. I actually applied to be on The Apprentice, but then turned down the interview because I was so scared of going to London, not of the interview. Okay, anyway, I'm getting so distracted. He was a popular guy, basically. Howard was sort of on the defence for the hospitality industry, made a case that people who work in the hospitality industry, their skills weren't wasted and that it was actually a multi-billion-pound industry. And I wonder if that is what has been part of the appeal to him to work in, I know Alton Towers isn't really hospitality, but they do have a first aid. That was such a bad joke. But they do have a hotel, so maybe the idea that Alton Towers is a resort did appeal to him. Now, after he finished The Apprentice, he left working for pubs into the travel sector. Wow, aviation. There's a lot of us here who like planes and roller coasters, aren't there? There are a few of us. Should I say it? Okay, I'm going to say it. I'm a pilot. Okay, there we go, got it in. He actually then became the commercial director for the #1 airport lounge company. If you don't know, there's sort of It's like a chain of airport lounges that you can see around a few different airports. So if you book one of those lounges, you kind of know what you're going to get. I've had mostly good experiences there, so thank you for setting that one up, Howard. The unlimited wine. So he was dealing with VIP people. Basically, my understanding is that he was setting it up to be really a good experience hospitality-wise for people. So I actually still think this does count as hospitality, the airport lounges. And maybe it's a stretch to say this is to do with travel and aviation, but it's self-proclaimed, so I'm just gonna back him up here. Yeah, you worked in the aviation sector, Howard. I like it. Oh my gosh, that was so patronising. I take it back. Guess what happens next, guys? He ended up actually being commercial director for East Mids and Bournemouth Airport, which is sort of a collective part of the Manchester Airports Group. And he did things to sort of diversify the airline partners and destinations. So it could be the case that Howard Ebison is the reason we have so many airlines going to so many different airports in the UK, and they're not sort of exclusive. He also did things like putting in a bid for Nottingham to be Europe's culture capital or something. European capital of culture at Nottingham. Because that was his attempt at increasing tourism to that area and bringing more people in. It's not just about flying out everyone from the UK. And to me, this demonstrates that Howard has pretty good like holistic view on business and isn't two-dimensional about it, which I think as theme park enthusiasts we can be very two-dimensional in like our advice that we'll give Alton Towers. Like, why don't they just do this? I actually made a TikTok suggesting that to see how many comments I'd get, and literally, it's so funny, guys. I'm sorry if you're one of these people, but I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna make a TikTok that I've put literally no thought into, saying, oh, this is what Alton Towers needs to do to fix itself. I mean, obviously I literally have no idea, do I? How could I know? Expecting that maybe like 20 people would comment on it being like, well, actually, I think it should be this. And it was even more than that. It was absolutely fabulous. People are so predictable. You'll take the bait. You just want to share your opinion on everything. Here I am sharing my opinion. Park Worldwide uploaded a video about the downfall of Alton Towers, and I've not watched it, but here are my 3 ideas for Alton Towers to get good again, because I agree.
That's not going to save Alton Towers. It needs
The food isn't just overpriced. Open the water park in the evenings. Throw something to do in the evenings. Also, how about opening later than 4 p.m? For flip's sake. Most theme parks keep older and maintain old rides. They go rid of too many good rides. Plus, they could have bought Camelot to shut down and get rid of our for a start, and also needs at least 4 to 5 flat rides. Queues are probably the biggest driver of keeping folk away. Above the tree line. Biggest difference to the better theme parks is there's no immersion at all. X-Sector feels almost the same. They need to do something with the theatre and David Walliams. Happily took our money and didn't make us aware that several major attractions were not active for that day, meaning we had to queue 2+ hours for every ride and managed to go on about 3 or 4 things.
Stopped going when they started charging for
work-served minimum wage. They need to add more immersive smells like Disney does. Walking in the park, you smell the candy when I get to the rides. Other than Hex, it's the price the walking and the queuing.
Ride photos could and should be much cheaper.
The good news is we've got people who actually do know how business works, working for Alton Towers, and ultimately we do want them to thrive as a business, because obviously the more money they make, the more investments they'll make. I hope. And an example that I'm thinking of like 2D thinking at Alton Towers is like, oh, if they just painted all the buildings, everything would be all right. That's so. Look, I get it. It will make the park look better, but that is so surface level. Like things like the investments that they're planning, they do years and years in advance before they're ever even announced and stuff. Being angry that there's like chipped paint and stuff is probably one of the least of their concerns. It's almost like, have you ever thrown like a stick for a dog and then like had nothing in your hand and thrown it? To me, I feel like Alton Towers has done that with the theme park enthusiasts by painting the corkscrew yellow. Like they know that there's nostalgia behind it, they know theme parks like the corkscrew, and they know it's the first thing you'll see when you walk into a theme park, and theme park enthusiasts were allowed to get involved in painting it. Guys, you left it a bit patchy, by the way. So that felt like it was the false stick thrown to distract us while they're working on other stuff that we're not going to see the outcome of yet. Again, just theory. Obviously, we don't know. I digress. So the Manchester Airport Group then promoted Howard, and he was in charge of the retail and customer development in the airports. He was in charge of like the commercial product development and all that kind of stuff. And Manchester had a new kind of terminal upgrade at that point, which he was overseeing and everything. And given Manchester is one of the UK's busiest airports, I think that is quite an amazing claim to fame, really. It's not something maybe you'd think about going through an airport like, who was in charge of commercial product development in here, unless you're me. But I do think that's really cool. And he actually gained international experience when the Manchester Airport Group branched out into the US. Yeah, they might need to change the name. There is a Manchester in the United States though, isn't there? Ew. A nice little fun fact about Howard as well is that in 2017 he took part in the Leicester Stand-Up Challenge, where I think a lot of businessmen and women took part in like raising money for cancer, I think, by like doing stand-up comedy, which is really like impressive and like awesome. That to me that shows that he cares. Okay, I'm not going to watch a lot of this because I've got quite a weird sense of humour anyway, if you couldn't tell by my videos. So if I don't laugh, it's not because I dislike Howard or anything like that. I find stand-up comedy quite awkward. There he is. There I am.
So yeah, I work at an airport, at East Midlands Airport, and of course, you know, it's very serious. Safety is of paramount importance, so I feel the need to point out that in the likely event of an emergency, the exits can be located here and probably over there somewhere. A very warm welcome to our first class and future flight. Let's hear it for economy!
Oh.
So you guys paid less for your tickets, had to pay for all your drinks, probably had to check your coat in on the way in. But actually, you guys have got the best seats because in the event of a sudden drop in cabin pressure, oxygen masks will fall from the ceiling and we're all...
Oh.
When you work for the airport, free parking.
Can you give me free parking, Howard, at Alton Towers?
And is willing to look a little bit silly for the sake of other people. Not that I think he looked silly. And it also shows a little bit of like playfulness, to be honest, which is nice because he obviously ended up at Alton Towers. A lot of his decisions working at this airport group actually did increase regional business as well, which shows that he wasn't just, you know, focusing on business endeavours alone. He was also considering like the benefit for the wider community. So with that in mind, Howard, let's build a roundabout on the entrance to Alton Towers, please. I'm joking. But like, I guess we can see evidence of that already with the monorail being down. On open day, there was a replacement rail service, which is cute. Didn't need to do that. People would have been like, oh, and carried on anyway. But it is good that he's clearly got a mind for considering benefits to more than just a customer. So I'm going to skip over now the rest of the stuff he did for like the travel industry. He did a lot, and it's worth having a look if that interests you. And he actually did eventually move on to sort of like a premium coffee shop, donut shop kind of thing, and was appointed CEO, which is just incredible for that to be your first title working for a new company. People clearly really trusted him. I'm talking in past tense, like, and wait for why we don't anymore, but no, don't worry, that's not coming. Or is it? So, here comes his step into the theme park industry, guys. Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Howard Ebison. As some of you may already know, in 2024, Howard Ebison, he joined as the regional director for Chessington World of Adventures. Roar! Let's set the animals free, guys. Who's with me?
Yeah,
I will do
I
it
am,
one
and
day.
I'm
No,
a tiger.
So when he had this role, he managed sort of day-to-day operations at Chessington and sort of spearheaded new attractions aimed at families. He actually hosted something which was like a festive roller coaster carol thing, like Christmas carols, where he combined Christmas carols with the theme park rides and things like that, which is just so cute, isn't it? We've not seen that before, have we?
I brought the choir here today to attempt to sing Christmas carols whilst riding on a roller coaster. So we went on the Mandrill Mayhem, which
it's not the Mandrill Mayhem.
An hour and 66 feet
just
in the air.
Mandrill Mayhem. Okay, so I think they've done an okay job, but I think when the Theme Park Society covers the song Angels by Robbie Williams on Toxicare, it's way better. And again, it ties back his love for music and things like that, which, yeah, I like that, Howard. And when they announced sort of a Paw Patrol land, that's like a clear sign that Howard was focusing on turning Chessington into a family theme park, which like also is really good to me because you could tell that he just understood the vibe of Chessington before going in. I think for the general public, there's sort of an idea that a theme park's a theme park. They're going to have roller coasters, they're going to have less exciting stuff. But I'm really glad that Howard understood like the briefing for Chessington and its target audience, which again gives me hope for what he's going to do with Alton Towers. We don't want to see a duplicate of Lightwater Valley again, do we, where that was turned into a just like young families, like toddlers, with Ladybird Coaster and being the only attraction really. I don't want to see that happen to Alton Towers, do you? John Wardley would be fuming. And obviously we've got the new Fortnite area coming to Chessington, which I'm very excited about. So don't ask me who he bequeathed his title to when he left Chessington, because I don't rightly know. But he is now Vice President of Alton Towers. Yay! So well done, Merlin, for keeping him and transferring him, because I think he's a very valuable person. And mark my words, guys, he's going to be doing good stuff for Alton Towers, even if we don't see it. And this is quite fresh. This is only from the 1st of January 2026. Happy New Year's, Howard. You're Vice President of Alton Towers. You've got a dream job. You're basically playing Roller Coaster Tycoon in real life. This is amazing, except you're playing it on like 0.0001% of the speed. So what actually does a Vice President do at Alton Towers? Do they just wear fancy jackets and leave it at that? No. He oversees the strategy and operations and guest experience at Alton Towers. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on it. And he was the one in January to unveil that we're getting the Bluey roller coaster. I've not seen Bluey yet, but I might start watching it. The last time I tried to watch a TV show because of a theme park was The Walking Dead. That was not good for me, guys. It was not good. I shouldn't be watching any kind of horror, to be honest. But I might watch Bluey. Don't know. Is it horrific? Do people be stamping on skulls in Bluey? Hopefully not. So he said that the roller coaster, the Bluey, Here Comes the Grannies, inside joke I clearly don't get yet, but I will soon when I watch it, is going to be like a cheeky fun thing where people can get immersed in one of the most playful episodes of Bluey, apparently. Have you watched Bluey, Howard? Do you want to watch it together? Alton Towers are no Alton Towers are no strangers to an interesting marketing campaign. If you're interested in watching one of my first cringy videos, I talk about 13's marketing campaign somewhere here. It's pretty cringe, but the point still stands. It was a weird marketing campaign. But for this one, Howard decided to have a huge portrait of Bluey made out of beans. Again, it's probably an inside joke I don't get yet. Can we watch Bluey together, Howard? Because I don't get it. So the official announcement from a website called Blue Loop, which I can only assume is for Bluey fans, referred to Howard as Vice President, which I think is when most people were like, new Vice President. He's also been working on having things like themed family bedrooms at Alton Towers, that kind of thing. But I do think that he clearly has a very good perspective and understanding of like guest behaviour and desires. Do you know about me, Howard? I have stood next to you. Do you remember when I stood next to you and we watched the lights on the towers? I'm sorry for not clapping. Actually, here's a funny story about that. When we watched that opening day, the only person who clapped was one of the members of staff. I think she was with Aramark.
Where's the fire? Any thoughts, Wiggle?
I'm looking forward to the firework display.
I like that.
And my husband spoke to the guy from Aramark and said that he brings his own packed lunches because the food's so expensive. And obviously we are quite early into the theme park season at the moment, so it's hard to say what, like, based on his experience at Alton Towers, what's going to happen. But I am really, really hopeful, guys. I'm really chuffed we've got Howard. He's got a great smile, at least. It made me feel happy when I saw him at the entrance. I didn't even realise who he was. Although anyone with a lanyard, I automatically fear, in a good way, like a fear of God. But I know he's not God. Anyway, I'm really glad he's at Alton Towers. What do you think of Howard, guys? Do you think he's a good fit, given his past experience? Or do you think he's no idea what he's talking about? I'm just so excited. I almost feel like this may be a bit mean. Alton Towers is kind of like a small project compared to like all of the airport stuff he was doing. So I think he won't be out of his depth here, in my personal opinion. I think he's going to absolutely smash it, and I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to do. Even if right now he's focusing on the family stuff, we've got evidence that he understands theme park atmospheres with his work at Chessington. Please stay, Howard. Don't go. Okay. But here's a question. Do you think Howard would be eating at the Burger Kitchen at Alton Towers? Seriously, would you eat there, Howard? I've had food chemical poisoning from there. So don't eat there. I would like to think that once he's spent a little bit more time around Alton Towers and tried all the eateries, he's going to be like, wow, this is something we can quite quickly fix. And shout out to my channel members, which is Dan Frowns, Tuna Fish, Rollercoaster Sam, and James Smiles. Thank you guys so much for your support, even though I've not even been uploading recently. I really appreciate it. All right, thank you guys for watching. I hope you're enjoying roller coasters being open. I really hope you're enjoying it. Stop moaning. Just enjoy life, guys. It's so short. Do you want to look back on this period of your life and be like, I just complained the whole time? When actually I'm really privileged because I get to go to theme parks all the time. Anyway, bye guys. Bye.